Every nerd and their dog over the last 24 hours has been freaking out about the possible complete and total shutdown of the CVE database, the Common Vulnerability and Exposure Database. And if you're not familiar with that, basically the idea is this. There is a central database where all major vulnerabilities and exploits in any particular piece of software across any system gets assigned a number, gets tracked, gets details added to it. It provides a simple, standardized way to track specific vulnerabilities and potential exploits in software that any company and any country and any software developer and any sysadmin on Earth can use. It's incredibly useful and handy. Well, yesterday, a a leaked letter from the board of the CVE suggested that it might be shutting down right now. Today, April 16th. I'm going to read through some of the details here with you right now because this story is getting crazier and crazier, and nobody seems to be reporting on the crazy parts. We're talking multi-billion-dollar defense charities, the leaked board emails, and all sorts of crazy stuff. A weird spun-up foundation that just appeared. It's crazy. The story is nuts, and none of the reporting out there seems to be capturing any of the real details. So I'm just going to read through what I've got so far. This is still unfolding, so we'll probably be updating them this as we go. All right. The CVE story is growing increasingly bizarre. I posted this over on X. There is a letter making the rounds from Meter Corporation, MITRE, which is the company tasked with the operation of the CVE database. Now, Meter has been around since the 1950s and has multiple government contracts, including from the Air Force. The letter that was leaked, which says that a break in service may occur tomorrow, that's today, due to an expired contract with the U.S. government, was not published officially by Meter Corporation. It was leaked by someone on or related to the Common Vulnerabilities and Exposure Board. Just to show you what I'm talking about here, the board consists of a large number of people, the CVE board, from across a variety of companies. We've got CrowdStrike, Intel, Microsoft, F5, Panasonic, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, the CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. It's across the board. Government representatives, corporation representatives, a whole lot of them, very, very much focused on the United States. While the CVEs are used across the world, all of the organization around it is very U.S. centric and U.S. funded. Here's the leaked letter. Dear CVE board member, dated April 15th, we want to make you aware of an important potential issue with Meter's enduring support to CVE. On Wednesday, April 16th, 2025, the current contracting pathway for Meter to develop, operate, and modernize CVE and several other related programs will expire. The government continues to make considerable efforts to continue Meter's role in support of the programs. If a break in service were to occur, we anticipate multiple impacts to CVE, including deterioration of national vulnerability database and advisories, etc., etc., etc. This came from the vice president and director of the Center for Securing the Homeland, Yuri Barsoum. Okay. Now, questions came up because of this. Who leaked this? To start with, right? Clearly, someone wanted this out there, whether it was to create public pressure in order to get this contract renewed so that the CVE could continue operating, to maybe fish for someone to swoop in and save the day here, a company, a government, somebody. It really is a big unknown, right? A big question. So then the story began to unfold. That was yesterday. This morning, and we're gonna jump around in time a little bit here. This morning, the CISA, right, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, which they've been in the news a fair bit lately, they announced that they're swooping in to pay for the contract. So they're keeping the CVE running. As I pointed out, that there was no official statement regarding this. I'm still waiting on a statement from CISA and Meter. At least as of before I started recording this show, they had not been posted. But this quote has been provided to a number of different outlets. Quote, "Last night, CISA executed the option period on the contract to ensure there will be no lapse in critical CVE services. We appreciate our partners and stakeholders' patience." The end quote. The word is that this particular contract extension will run for another 11 months, and the idea is that it will provide enough time to finalize future funding plans. Okay, fine. But there was some other stuff going on in the interim. So yesterday, the leaked email came out from the CVE board. Later that night, I mean, much later that night, like before midnight, an independent CVE foundation was announced, right? And apparently this foundation, which would have nothing to do with Meter or the US government, completely separate initiative, involved at least one current CVE board member, with the goal of moving the vulnerability database to a non-government-backed organization. Now, this occurred within the hours between yesterday's leaked board email, right, and this morning's announcement that CISA would continue funding. Right, every couple hours something new was happening. In fact, it looks like the domain itself was actually registered about 19 minutes before midnight last night. Where is this? I've got the who is here. There's the who is. The CVEfoundation.org with the domain name registered at looks like 11:41 p.m. Last night on the April 15th. This is the CVE Foundation website out of Bremerton, Washington, right? The CVE, that's where they're located. The CVE Foundation has been formally established to ensure the long-term viability, stability, and independence of the Common Vulnerabilities and Exposure Program, a critical pillar of the global cybersecurity infrastructure. I'm going to read just a tidbit more from this. Since its inception, the CVE program has operated as a U.S. government-funded initiative with oversight and management provided under contract. While this structure has supported the program's growth, it has also raised long-standing concerns among members of the CVE board about the sustainability and neutrality of a globally relied upon resource being tied to a single government sponsor. Okay. This concern has been urgent following an April 15th letter from Meter notifying the CVE board that the U.S. government does not intend to renew its contract for managing the program. While we had hoped this day would not come, we have been preparing for this possibility. In response, a coalition of longtime active CVE board members, suggesting there's multiple, have spent the past year developing a strategy to transition CVE to a dedicated, nonprofit foundation. The new CVE Foundation will focus solely on continuing the mission of delivering high-quality vulnerability identification and maintaining the integrity and availability of CVE data for defenders worldwide. And then there's a quote here from Kent Landfield. Let me show you. I don't have a picture of Kent Landfield. He just has a little icon for himself, but he is on the board of directors for CVE, and he is behind, at least one of the people behind this new CVE Foundation, which appeared 12 minutes before midnight last night. Quote, CVE as a cornerstone of the global cybersecurity ecosystem is too important to be vulnerable itself. It's fair. Cybersecurity professionals around the globe rely on CVE identifiers and data as part of their daily work, from security tools and advisories to threat intelligence and response. Without CVE, defenders are at a massive disadvantage against global cyber threats. All right, so questions hopped up all over the place. So now that the CISA is continuing the CVE funding, will this new CVE Foundation continue? right? Or is that really just the begin of some sort of a splinter group? Are they going to end up competing with each other in parallel? Number two, who are the other CVE board members that are supposedly involved in this foundation? We know of one person, but are there more? Number three, was one of the CVE Foundation people, right, the people who are involved in this new foundation, the same persons or individuals who leaked the April 15th board member email that everyone got? I kind of almost assume so, but I don't know. There's a lot of people on the CVE board. It could be anyone, and it could be for any reason. Number four, considering the CVE database is used by so many companies and so many countries, surely the CISA couldn't have been the only organization offering to extend the funding contract to Meter Corporation. Were some other organizations offering to back Meter, or are some other organizations offering to financially or in otherwise back this new CVE foundation? It's a bit of an unknown. Now, let's dive into Meter Corporation quickly, because it's kind of strange. I just want to read some tidbits to you, and I want you to make up your own mind, because after looking into the IRS records of Meter Corporation, red flags all over the place. All right, so here we go. Meter Corporation is it operates the CVE database, right? They are paid for entirely by U.S. taxpayers. In fact, Meter brings in over $2 billion with a capital B dollars per year, and that's almost entirely in contributions and grants, right? They don't sell a lot of products. It comes in from contributions and grants, all of which I couldn't find any that were not from the U.S. government. It's all the U.S. government. 2.3 some odd billion dollars. Here, I'll bring up some of the IRS records here. The current year is $2.36 billion in contributions and grants, all from the U.S. government. $0 from program service revenue. Or no, sorry. They did have a little bit this year from program service revenue, $0 last year. See, again, 2.3 billion, it's all from the U.S. government. That's what they do. It's grants from the U.S. government, right? Big grants. I mean, we're talking billions of dollars here. The Meter executive team, and this is important, is very well paid, with the CEO bringing in over $3 million per year. Let me see if I've got this here. I do. The president and CEO of Meter had income, according to the IRS, from last year of over $3 million. The general manager at 1.6, the chief people officer, 1.4 million, senior vice president of integration at a little over 1 million, just about 1.1 million, on and on and on. They brought in some real good bank there. Also worth noting, and here's the detail that's really important. Those grants and contributions all came from the U.S. government, just so that no one thinks that, some, philanthropic corporation is funding some of this. No, it's all 2.3 billion comes from the United States government. Also worth noting that Meter is a 501c3. For tax purposes, Meter is a nonprofit charity. Here's the IRS 990 form. Reason for public charity status. When you file this as a 501c3, you have to tell them, well, here's why I believe I'm a charity. This is from the Meter Corporation filing from this last year. They declared that they are an organization that normally receives more than 33 1/3% of its support from contributions, membership fees, and gross receipts from activities related to its exempt functions, subject to certain exceptions, and no more than 33 1/3 its support from gross investment income, blah, 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 from business, blah, 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 blah. So basically, they're a charity, right? So they're declaring that they're a charity. They get all their money from people donating to them. In this case, grants from the federal government. Just to scroll down here, let's look at this a little bit further. It's also worth noting that Meter, who runs the CVE, employs family members of officers and key employees in very high-paying roles. And because they're a charity, and these are taxes. You kind of have to declare this sort of thing. The brother of the CEO is employed by the company, and he makes $341,000. A spouse and several children of trustees and key employees and officers make between $100,000 and $300,000 a year. Several. So it's an organization that employs an awful lot of family members in extremely high-paying roles. I'm not saying that those aren't really, really skilled brothers and spouses and children, but that does raise an awful lot of red flags considering how much of that seems to be going on. Now, here's another thing. What does Meter, a $2 billion per year charity, focus on? Well, according to their website, here's their focus areas: aerospace, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, defense and intelligence, health, telecom, homeland security, government innovation, and transportation. A charity focusing on defense and intelligence, telecom, and aerospace? How exactly is this a charity again? This smells like a defense contractor. I'm seeing defense contractor that brings in $2 billion in government contracts every year, not a 501c3 charity. Something smells rotten in the state of Meter here. I'm just going to put that out there. I need to do a great deal more digging because this is concerning. This is the corporation, the charity, that said they were going to shut down the Common Vulnerability and Exploits and Exposures database because they weren't going to have the money to run it. How much money could it cost to keep this database online? I'm assuming you have to have a few employees, maybe for some legal research and to keep the servers up and running and whatnot. But I'm sorry. I just don't see this as being a terribly expensive expenditure. To say that you're, as a corporation, going to simply shut this down because you, a charity who's been running this as a charity, didn't have a contract with the federal government renewed? Say what now? Red flags. Mile-long red flags. Now, the question remains, what's going to happen now with the new CVE Foundation? Are we going to see a splinter group break off? What's going to happen with other potential sources of funding and hosting the CVE? Are other companies going to jump in and help this new foundation out? Are we going to see some people ousted from the CVE board that works with Meter at this point? I'm really going to be really curious to see how that all breaks out. I also would like to see exactly how Meter is a charity, because it don't look like a charity to me. I'm sorry, and that smells funky. That smells wicked funky. Reason for public charity status. And I know there are plenty of 501c3s out there that are not very charity-like. I know that. Trust me, I've been covering some of them, and it doesn't make me too happy. But this smells like a straight-up defense contractor. Do we really want a defense contractor running all of the CVE databases, all of the handling all the CVEs? Do we really want that? Maybe it's a good idea, maybe it's not. I feel like that's a discussion that should be had. I'm noticing that in the coverage that's out there right now of the potential of the CVE being shut down today, right? Because everyone was freaking out about it last night. Many different outlets were covering it, including some of the bigger tech journalism outlets. Most of them were covering it from the point of view of, oh my gosh, isn't the Trump administration bad? They were going to kill the poor defenseless CVE database. None of them, not one, was covering the fact that the CVE database is administered by a $2 billion defense contractor focusing on telecom, AI, aerospace, and defense, masquerading as a charity organization, and the fact that there was a splinter group of CVE board members trying to basically what appears to be wrestle the CVE database and system away from Meter and make it be independent from Meter Corporation. All of them were missing all of that. And the fact that it looks like the lapse in funding for this, however big or small, we still don't know the numbers, appears like it was probably just a contract that maybe didn't get it renewed, or uncertainty about what organization within the federal government was going to be running the contract going forward. But yet, just the same, oh, that poor defenseless CVE. Oh, the big bad Trump guy's trying to kill it. Doesn't seem to be like what's happening here. The story is weird. The story is very weird, and I'm going to continue covering it going forward. I've got a lot of feelers out. I've been sending out a lot of emails to a lot of people trying to figure out exactly what the hecatarnation is going on here. We'll figure it out. Thank you to the Lunduke Journal subscribers for making all this possible. I couldn't do it without you. I just noticed, by the way, that the date on my show says down there in the corner April 15th. It's April 16th. Lunduke forgot to update the date down there in the corner. Not cool, Lunduke. But thank you to all of the Lunduke Journal subscribers for making this possible. Go to lunduke.com, click on links for all the different ways you can watch and interact and read and get all the information the Lunduke Journal puts out there. Scroll down and click on the Become a Whistleblower if you want to blow the whistle on something happening in Meter or the CVE system. To all the board members of the CVE board, if you'd like to reach out to me, go to lunduke.com, scroll down, become a tech whistleblower. I'd love to hear from you. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, nerds and nerdettes across the intertubes, I do declare, end broadcast.